Want to learn how to make 2025 the best year yet? Stay tuned for a 7-card spread that can help. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Happy New Year and welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot one card at a time. In today's reading, we'll be using a 7-card spread to help you create your New Year's resolutions. I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there's a link below. This spread is number 872 from 1001 Tarot Spreads, the complete book of tarot spreads for every purpose by Cassandra Eason. It is called the New Year's Good Resolution Spread. I think it's an excellent spread to use for creating your own New Year's resolutions. I will be sharing the cards I pulled as an example, but I hope that you will try it for yourself, even if you're not a big fan of New Year's resolutions. I'd also recommend that you tuck your reading away somewhere and revisit it occasionally to see how you're progressing. So here's the New Year's Good Resolution spread. Card number 1 looks at what you want to take forward from 2024. I drew the 9 of Cups reversed. Card number 2 looks at what you want to leave behind in 2024. I drew the 4 of Wands reversed. Card number 3 looks at what should be your New Year's resolution. I drew the Tower. Card number 4 looks at what will be the hardest part about keeping your New Year's resolution. I drew the Sun reversed. Card number 5 looks at how your heart advises you to have a good year ahead. I drew the Chariot reversed. Card number 6 looks at how your head advises you to have a good year ahead. I drew the 6 of Pentacles. And card number 7 looks at what is your as yet unknown future. I drew the 3 of Cups. First, let's talk about my first impressions. I might have used a swear word when I first saw these cards. This was absolutely not the reading I wanted to see for 2025, starting with the Tower. There were so many reversed cards. The only card I really liked was the 3 of Cups in the future position, which gave me a bit of hope that I'd survive the year. Unfortunately, I very much believe that we work with the cards we're dealt. But I have to be honest, I was sorely tempted to pull a new set of cards, find a different spread, or do something, because I knew that I would be sharing it on this channel, and I really wanted to have a more positive reading. Something that immediately came to mind once I saw the cards was the idea of personal bias. I've been working with this a lot this year, and immediately knew that I would try to spin this as positively as I could. This is probably a situation where having a reading from someone who was more objective would have been a good idea. I think this reading reflects 2 things, and I'll share a little about them both. The first is a health issue that I'm having. Yes, another one. I feel like this entire channel is a HIPAA violation, as I definitely had more than my share of illnesses, surgeries, and physical challenges over the last couple of years. So here's a 2-sentence update on my health. In the last 18 months, I contracted Lyme disease, COVID twice, and a severe respiratory infection. Once the respiratory infection cleared up over the summer, and it took a long time, I started having severe pain in my hands. I seriously think that my immune system is just trashed. I finally saw a rheumatologist recently who took 17 x-rays and sent me to several specialists, including a hand surgeon. Another 20+ x-rays later and an ultrasound, and it was determined that I have osteoarthritis and bursitis throughout my body, literally from my neck to my toes, and that's what is causing all the pain in my hands, as well as other parts of my body. A couple of weeks after my diagnosis was Thanksgiving, and I was chopping vegetables for our feast. This totally flared my hands, and I'm still recovering. Not only has it been physically hard, it's also been psychologically difficult to be wearing braces on my hands and needing help to do things like carry objects and open jars. So I think part of this reading is about adjusting to my hand issues. And then I believe the second part is adjusting to the Trump presidency. I believe this will be a difficult and chaotic time, and I think that is coming through in the reading. I've done a couple of readings on the election and will link to them below. Full disclosure, I did not vote for Trump, and I realize that people who did will have a much more positive view of what 2025 will bring. In summary, I thought the reading looked pretty dismal, with the exception of the Three of Cups at the end. And I think this is based on both my personal health issues and the political climate in the United States. Now let's look at each card individually and we'll see if it feels more positive after that. Card number 1 looks at what you want to take forward from 2024. I drew the Nine of Cups reversed. My first thought was that this card is about not getting my wishes, either regarding my arthritis diagnosis or the results of the election. But I really don't want to take my emotional ick with me into the new year, so I don't think that's the correct interpretation. I'll be honest, I never liked the Nine of Cups. Even though it's a card about getting your wishes, I always see the character as being someone who is very smug. And even more in the reverse position, we have someone who overindulges in things like work or material objects, is very focused on their own needs, and could even be considered a narcissist. So yuck, because I don't think of myself like this at all. I had to think about this in terms of what I wanted to take forward. I do need to be more focused on my own needs. I have never been good at pacing myself. If I'm working on tarot, I want to do it all day. If I'm quilting or studying or cleaning or relaxing, then that is my focus. I really need to focus on pacing myself and not doing too much at one time. I also need to be more like a narcissist. Nobody likes that word. I looked it up and the Merriam-Webster definition is, quote, extremely self-centered with an exaggerated sense of self-importance marked by or characteristic of excessive admiration of or infatuation with oneself, unquote. I don't think I'm even close to qualifying, but I definitely need to start asking for way more help around the house and get on the self-care track. In terms of the election, as I mentioned in other videos, I've had to turn inward after the election results. What's done is done, and my worrying is not going to change it. I'm also learning how much stress increases my pain level. My practice of avoiding the news is definitely something that I will be carrying forward into 2025. I also think that this card is an invitation for me to look at what is really important to me and be grateful for what I do have rather than focusing on what I don't. In summary, I will be bringing forward a focus on self-care and taking actions that are beneficial to my physical and mental health, including ignoring the news and asking for help. Card number 2 looks at what you want to leave behind in 2024. I drew the Four of Wands reversed. In the reverse position, the Four of Wands is about experiencing difficult times, being isolated from people, completing chapters in life, and the fear of moving forward. So those are actually good things to leave behind in 2024. This card tells me that things will not be as bad as I think. 2024 has been a difficult year for many reasons, and I've had a lot of fear about what the new year will bring, both personally regarding my health and politically. I think by now you guys know that I'm a worrier and excellent at catastrophizing and being fearful about things that may never happen. So another message is to leave the fear habit behind and focus on living in the moment. I have definitely retreated a bit this year, largely due to the fact that I wasn't feeling well and was putting the energy I had into this YouTube channel. I know that I retreated farther after the election because I didn't want to deal with people celebrating Trump's policies. As I discussed in the first card, self-care is important. But I also have a lot of friends who think the same way I do, and I think it's important not to feel alone. I believe that I will rejoin the world soon, as you can see in the final card. Something else I need to do is seek help regarding my hands and not to deal with this situation alone. In addition to asking for help at home, I'll ask for a referral to an occupational therapist to help me figure out ways that I can do things like stir soup without messing up my hands. In summary, I need to ditch the fear and isolation and focus on living in the moment and expanding my community. Card number 3 looks at what should be your New Year's resolution. I drew the Tower. When I saw this card, the first thing I wrote down was, quote, I need to shake things up, unquote. My first impression when I see the Tower is always bad, as I think of it as being sudden, unexpected destruction, usually relating to the collapse of something that I hold to be very important. And that makes total sense, given that it's an indestructible stone tower being struck by lightning and we see two people plunging to their death. But the lightning strike can signify letting go of the old and seeing things in a new way, which is basically my first impression and a whole lot more positive. So what are the old things that I need to let go of? In terms of my health, there are some major beliefs and habits that I discussed earlier. The first belief is that asking for help makes me a narcissist. No, it does not. It makes me human. I live with my husband and adult daughter. It won't kill them to cut up some vegetables occasionally or to put away the dishes. And the new habits, which I also mentioned earlier, have to do with pacing myself. For instance, I've purchased about 50 houseplants over the past few months. I've always watered them on Sunday and done a second weekly watering for the thirsty ones on Wednesdays. Now I need to do a little bit of watering each day to protect my hands. The same with cleaning. Cleaning the shower will now be a 4-day project, and I can wash one wall per day. I can do the toilet one day, the sink the next day, sweep the floor on the third day. So it will take a week to clean the bathroom. Honestly, I don't like this one bit because there's nothing more satisfying than a sparkling bathroom, but that's what new attitudes and habits are all about. I've also worked hard to shake up my beliefs and habits around the Trump presidency. I've had to surrender my belief that the world will collapse if I'm not up to date on the news. And I've had to do a lot of thinking about the whole actions have consequences thing. The majority won. People voted for this and they knew what they were getting. I need to stay away from the news and the daily drama that is not there to provide information and is also there as clickbait and to drive revenue. Ruining my mental health by worrying is not going to fix things. The final thing to consider is that once the tower crumbles, we are left with the foundation and what truly matters. And I think that needs to be the basis of my New Year's resolutions, and that's looking at what truly matters to me. In summary, my New Year's resolutions need to be about making significant changes in terms of my habits and beliefs, as well as identifying my priorities. Card number 4 looks at what will be the hardest part about keeping your New Year's resolution. I drew the sun reversed. In the upright position, the sun is a very optimistic card that indicates success, vitality, optimism, enthusiasm, overcoming obstacles, being able to see the truth, and finding your purpose in life. In the reverse card, the future is still positive, however, it will just take longer to get there. I think the hardest part about keeping my New Year's resolutions is to keep the faith that things will get better. Before that happens, I may have to deal with elements of failure, pessimism, health problems, overwhelm, falsehoods, and questioning the future. I can still reach a happy place, but it's probably not going to be on January 2nd. Knowing that these challenges exist can help me come up with a plan to help overcome the obstacles. For instance, what can I do to stay positive in what appears to be a challenging year? Maybe that means setting tiny, reasonable goals and keeping a journal of my successes. Or maybe I create a plan to help me discern what I need to worry about so that I can take appropriate actions versus things that the media is hyping for the benefit of ratings. Maybe I can write down these worries and meet with a rational friend regularly to talk through my concerns. I think it's also important to stay focused on the resolutions that I created in the Tower card. It's important that I figure out how to stay away from distractions or what I can do to get back on track when I do get distracted. In summary, I need to recognize that I can keep my New Year's resolutions, but it's not going to be easy. I need to figure out my challenges and how I can overcome them, and also work hard not to get distracted by my goals. You've made it this far in the video, and I wanted to stop and ask for a favor if you're not already a subscriber, and that is to please hit the subscribe button. It's free for you, and it will also help me to grow this channel. Plus, it means that you won't miss anything. Thanks so much, and if you're already a subscriber, I truly appreciate your ongoing support. Now let's get back to the video. Card number 5 looks at how your heart advises you to have a good year ahead. I drew the Chariot reversed. The reversed Chariot is a card about loosening the reins, letting go of control, and being okay if life takes me on a new path. This is very hard for somebody like me who likes to be organized and likes to be in control. I think I started making New Year's resolutions when I was about 7, and I've always loved planning because it makes me feel like I have things under control. So the idea of going with the flow is pretty difficult for me. However, given what this year looks like, I think it's something to aspire to. Another message of the reversed Chariot is to focus on what I can do internally. I think by this point I've made it clear that I cannot control the level of arthritis in my hands or the fallout from the Trump presidency, much as I'd like to. What I can control are my thoughts, actions, priorities, and social support. Another interpretation of the reversed Chariot is that it represents scattered energy. This is a reminder that I need to focus on centering myself. If I make goals, they need to be things I can control that are about my internal journey and not about the destination. For instance, I can continue to do a tarot reading for myself every day because that makes me very happy. I can pace myself to protect my hands. I can choose where to focus my attention. I can enjoy quilting, or at least I hope I can do this once my hands are better, or reading, or spending time cuddling my dog. And I can make decisions that prioritize my mental health and the health of my family. In summary, the Chariot reverse tells me that I need to surrender trying to control the world, learn to go with the flow, and focus on things that I can control. Card number 6 looks at how your head advises you to have a good year. I drew the 6 of Pentacles. This card is about balanced exchanges between people. Since Pentacles are about health and wealth, it generally relates to exchanges around money, work, and health issues. The first thing I always want to do when I get this card is figure out who I am in the picture. If I can't figure it out intuitively, I use my pendulum. If you're not familiar with the pendulum, you can see images on the screen. It is a weighted object that you ask yes, no questions to. So I'll say, pendulum, am I the person in red? And I'll get a yes, no, or an I don't know. I have a whole video on how to use a pendulum, which I've linked to below. My pendulum tells me that I'm the person in red. This tells me that I'm in charge of how I am using my resources, which I believe refers to my physical and mental health. I am in charge. There is a scale in my left hand that is balanced. I have to be careful not to do too much or too little, or I'll throw myself off balance. That means I'll need to make choices. I can't do everything and serve everybody. For instance, I've chosen to apply my resources to the man in yellow and not the man in blue. I've always felt so sad when I've seen this card because the boy in blue is clearly deserving and is going without. Today I noticed the scale above his head, and it dawned on me that things should balance out. So even though I'm not personally helping the person in blue, someone else will. That tells me that I can only do as much as I can, and I have to leave the rest to someone else. So to summarize, my head is advising me that I need to recognize that I am in charge and I have to make balanced decisions that are in my best interest. Card number 7 looks at what is my as yet unknown future. I drew the 3 of Cups. I was so happy to see this card in the reading because it tells me that everything will work out and I will be part of a joyous, supportive community that could include family, friends, neighbors, or coworkers. It is a card that shows people in a creative mode, as dancing is very creative, and in the process of physical and emotional healing. I take the fact that I can hold a heavy cup over my head to mean that my hands were also a lot stronger. Pam Richards, in her book Understanding Tarot, also points out that the 3 cups form a triangle, which is a symbol for fire, which brings balance to the cycles of growth and also manifestation. On the ground, we see fruits and vegetables. This shows me that there is much abundance in this card. The brown soil shows that they are very grounded. It seems that I've learned how to experience joy through dancing with other people, which is a big improvement from my isolated worrying after the election. Finally, the sky is clear and blue. This signifies clarity and truth. There is no hidden agenda in this card, which is a welcome improvement from the falsehoods and hidden outcomes that we talked about in the Sun reversed. The 3 of Cups indicates that my future looks bright. Let's summarize the reading. Card number 1, the 9 of Cups reversed, looked at what I want to take forward from 2024, and that is a focus on self-care and taking actions that are beneficial to my physical and mental health, including ignoring the news and asking for help. Card number 2, the Four of Wands reversed, looks at what I wanted to leave behind in 2024. This was fear around both my health and the political landscape, and also isolation. Card number 3, the Tower, looks at what my New Year's resolution should be. And that is that I needed to shake things up by making significant changes in terms of my habits and beliefs. Card number 4, the Sun reversed, looks at what will be the hardest part about keeping my New Year's resolution. And that is to keep the faith that things will get better, because before things get better, I may have to deal with elements of failure, pessimism, health problems, overwhelm, falsehoods, and questioning the future. I need to figure out my challenges and how I can overcome them, and also work hard to not get distracted from my goals. Card number 5, the Chariot reversed, looks at how my heart advises me to have a good year ahead. Basically, I need to surrender trying to control the world, learn to go with the flow, and focus on things that I can control, which are my beliefs and habits. Card number 6, the Six of Pentacles, looks at how my head advises me to have a good year ahead. I need to recognize that I am in charge of my health, and I have to make balanced decisions that are in my best interest. Card number 7, the Three of Cups, looks at what is my as yet unknown future. This shows a bright future full of health, creativity, and friends. This reading ended up being a lot more positive than I'd envisioned, and to my surprise, the message across the cards was pretty consistent. I need to change my beliefs and habits, which includes giving up trying to control the universe. Specifically, I can focus on my mental health by staying away from the news and help deal with the arthritis in my hands by asking for help and learning to pace myself. I hope this video will help you start off 2025 in a good place. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share what you learned. Happy New Year, and I'll see you next time.